The sound shattered the silence of the penthouse. Adrian Foster looked up from his laptop, his fingers frozen over the keyboard. Through the walls, he heard it, heartbroken, sobbing, a child's voice, small and terrified, breaking through hiccuped breaths. "I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. I broke it." Then the sound of something clattering to the floor, followed by more crying, desperate and inconsolable. Adrian's chest tightened. He recognized that voice. His maid's daughter, the 7-year-old who wasn't supposed to be here. 3 hours earlier, the day had been ordinary. Adrian sat in his home office reviewing quarterly reports when Elena Torres appeared in the doorway, her expression apologetic, almost pleading. Behind her stood a little girl, small for her age, with long, dark hair that fell past her shoulders and eyes too big for her face. The child clutched a worn teddy bear to her chest, like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "Mr. Foster," Elena said, her voice steady but strained, "I'm so sorry to ask this. My babysitter canceled last minute, and I have nowhere else to take her. She won't make a sound, I promise. She'll stay in the guest room. You won't even know she's here." Adrian looked at the child. Lily. He'd heard Elena mention her name before, always with a softness that told him everything he needed to know. This was Elena's world. The girl stared at the floor, her small hands gripping the bear tighter, her shoulders hunched like she was trying to disappear into herself. She wore a faded floral dress, clearly handed down, the hem uneven where it had been altered to fit her small frame. Her shoes were scuffed, too worn for a child her age, but clean, polished. Elena had made sure of that. Adrian was strict about rules. No personal matters during work hours, no exceptions. It was how he'd built his company, how he'd climbed to the top of the tech industry, how he'd survived the chaos of his recent divorce. Order, control, boundaries. But when Lily glanced up at him for just a second, her eyes wide with fear and something else, hope maybe, something in his chest cracked. He thought of his own daughter, the one he barely saw anymore, the one his ex-wife had taken across the country after the custody battle, the one who used to look at him with those same eyes. "Just this once," Adrian said quietly. Elena's face flooded with relief. "Thank you, Mr. Foster. Thank you so much." "Lily, say thank you." The little girl's voice was barely a whisper. "Thank you, sir." Adrian nodded, already turning back to his work, already regretting the softness he'd allowed himself to feel. Elena Torres had worked for him for 5 years. She cleaned his penthouse 3 times a week, kept everything immaculate, never asked for anything, never complained. She was proud, fiercely so, the kind of woman who worked double shifts and still showed up with her head high. Adrian respected that, trusted her. In 5 years, she'd never once brought her personal life into his home, until today. Now, hours later, the crying echoed through the walls, and Adrian stood from his desk, his heart pounding in a way that had nothing to do with the work he'd been doing. He walked toward the guest room, his footsteps silent on the marble floors, and stopped outside the door. Elena's voice came through, low and panicked. "Lily, it's okay. It's okay, baby. We'll fix it. Somehow we'll fix it." But Lily's sobs only grew louder, raw and desperate, the kind of crying that came from a place deeper than childhood. Adrian knocked once, then pushed the door open. "Before we continue, if you believe in the power of compassion and second chances, subscribe to Love is Kindness." Now, tell us, have you ever been in a situation where a child's innocence changed your perspective? Comment below and let us know where you're watching from. The scene before him stopped Adrian cold. Lily sat on the floor in the center of the guest room, surrounded by shards of white porcelain scattered across the hardwood like fallen snow. Her small hands were pressed to her face, her shoulders shaking with sobs that seemed too big for her tiny body. On the dresser, now empty, sat the spot where the music box had been. Elena stood frozen in the doorway behind Adrian, her face draining of every ounce of color as she took in the destruction. "Mr. Foster," Elena breathed, her voice breaking, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll pay for it. However long it takes. I'll work extra hours, weekends, whatever you need. Just, please, I'm so sorry." Her hands trembled as she moved toward her daughter, but Lily's crying only intensified. The little girl looked up at Adrian, her face streaked with tears, her eyes red and swollen. It played the pretty song. She sobbed, her voice hiccuping between words. "I just wanted to hear it. The dancer was so beautiful, and she spinned when the music played, and I just wanted to see her, and now I broke the pretty dancer. I broke her." Adrian stepped into the room, careful not to crush the porcelain pieces beneath his shoes. He knelt down, picked up the largest fragment, the ballerina's head and torso, still intact, her delicate painted face serene despite the destruction. He turned it over in his hands, and his face went still, completely still. The kind of stillness that comes before a storm or after a loss. "This was my grandmother's," he said quietly, his voice so low it was almost a whisper. Elena's knees nearly gave out. She gripped the doorframe for support, her mind already racing through calculations she couldn't possibly afford. An antique, a family heirloom. She'd seen pieces like this in shop windows, behind glass, with price tags that made her stomach turn. "Mr. Foster, please," she said, her voice shaking. "I'll work extra hours, no pay, for however many months it takes. I'll figure it out. I swear I will." Adrian held up his hand, stopping her mid-sentence, but he didn't speak. He just stared at the broken ballerina in his palm, his jaw tight, his eyes distant. Then Lily moved. She pushed herself off the floor, her legs unsteady, and reached into the pocket of her faded dress. She pulled out the teddy bear, Mr. Buttons, the one she'd been clutching all afternoon like a lifeline. The bear was old, its fur matted in places, one eye slightly loose, a patch sewn clumsily onto its side where stuffing had once escaped. But it was clean, loved, treasured. Lily held it out to Adrian with both hands, her small fingers trembling so hard the bear shook. "You can have Mr. Buttons," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks in rivers that wouldn't stop. "He's all I have, but he's special. He was my daddy's before he went to heaven, and Mama gave him to me, and he makes me feel safe. Maybe he can make you feel better." Her voice cracked. "Mama says when we break something, we have to make it right, so you can keep him, forever." Adrian stared at the bear. At this 7-year-old child, offering her most precious possession, the one thing that connected her to a father she'd never see again, to make up for an accident she hadn't meant to cause. His throat tightened. His daughter, the one he hadn't seen in 8 months, the one his ex-wife had taken to California after the custody battle. She'd had a bear just like this, same matted fur, same crooked smile. She'd named it Captain. She used to sleep with it every night, clutching it the same way Lily clutched Mr. Buttons, like it was the only thing in the world that understood her. He hadn't thought about Captain in months, hadn't let himself. But now, staring at this child's selfless, impossible gesture, something inside him cracked, not broke, cracked. Like ice on a frozen lake when the first warmth of spring touches it. He looked at Lily, really looked at her, and saw not just Elena's daughter, but every child who'd ever been afraid, ever tried to fix something too big for them to carry, ever loved something so much they'd give it away to make someone else whole. Adrian knelt down slowly, bringing himself to Lily's level, his knees touching the cold hardwood floor. He took Mr. Buttons from her trembling hands, held the bear for just a moment, feeling the weight of everything it meant, and then gently placed it back into Lily's arms. "Keep Mr. Buttons," he said softly, his voice steady but carrying something new, something tender. "He needs you more than I need a music box." Lily blinked, confusion flooding her tear-stained face. "But I broke it," she whispered. Adrian shook his head. "It was an accident. Accidents happen." Elena's hand flew to her mouth, and tears she'd been fighting spilled over, silent and unstoppable. "Mr. Foster," she started, but he turned to her, his expression firm but kind. "Elena, You're not paying for anything. It was an accident. Do you understand me? It was an accident." Elena nodded, unable to speak, her throat too tight with emotion. Adrian picked up the broken ballerina again, cradling it carefully in his palm like it was still whole. "My grandmother gave this to me when I was 8 years old," he said, his eyes distant, lost in a memory Lily couldn't see. "You know what she told me?" Lily shook her head, wiping at her tears with the back of her hand. Adrian smiled, a small, sad smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. She said, "Things break, people matter. Never forget which one is important." He looked at Elena, then back at Lily. "I forgot that." For a long time. Lily tilted her head, studying him with those two wise eyes. "Do you know what this dancer did when the music played?" Adrian asked gently. She spinned. Lily said quietly, her voice still shaky. Adrian nodded. "She danced." "Want to know a secret?" Lily leaned in slightly, curious. "The dancing. That's just an object. A thing. But the memory of my grandmother teaching me to dance in her kitchen, her humming along to this exact music, that can never break. No matter what happens to the ballerina, I still have that. And now," he paused, looking at the broken pieces scattered around them, "now you've given me another memory, one I didn't know I needed." The next morning, Adrian made a call. By afternoon, a specialist in antique restoration arrived at his penthouse, examined the pieces, and promised it could be saved. It took 3 days. When the music box returned, it was whole again, the ballerina's arms gracefully extended, her painted smile serene, the mechanism inside restored so perfectly that when wound, it played the same delicate melody it had played for 50 years. But Adrian didn't place it back on his dresser. He didn't tuck it away in a display case or store it for safekeeping. Instead, he called Elena. When she arrived the next day with Lily, he knelt down again and handed the music box to the little girl. Her eyes went wide, her mouth forming a perfect circle of shock. "This is for you," Adrian said. Lily's hands hovered over it, afraid to touch. "But it's yours," she whispered. "My grandmother would have wanted someone who appreciates beauty to have it," Adrian replied. "Someone who understands how precious things are. That's you, Lily." Elena stepped forward, shaking her head. "Mr. Foster, we can't accept this. It's too much. It's priceless." Adrian looked up at her, his expression gentle but unmovable. "It's not payment, Elena. It's a gift. From one person who understands loss to another." Elena's eyes filled again, and this time she didn't try to stop the tears. Lily wound the music box carefully, and the ballerina began to spin, the melody filling the quiet room with something that felt like healing. Lily watched the dancer turn, mesmerized, and then looked up at Adrian with those big, knowing eyes. "Mr. Foster," she asked softly, "are you sad because you miss someone?" Adrian's walls, the ones he'd built so carefully over the past year, crumbled. He sat down on the floor beside her, his expensive suit forgotten. "Yes," he admitted, his voice rough. "My daughter, I don't get to see her much anymore." Lily nodded like she understood things no 7-year-old should have to understand. "Maybe if you fix things with her like you fixed the dancer," she said simply, "she'll come back." The words hit him like lightning. So simple, so impossibly wise. He stared at Lily, at this child who'd just handed him the answer he'd been too stubborn, too proud, too hurt to see. Maybe she was right. Maybe some things could be fixed. Maybe reaching out wasn't weakness. Maybe it was the bravest thing he could do. 3 months later, the penthouse filled with a sound Adrian hadn't heard in almost a year. Laughter. His daughter, Emma, 10 years old, with his eyes and her mother's smile, ran through the living room chasing Lily, both girls shrieking with delight. The music box sat on the coffee table, playing its gentle melody, the ballerina spinning endlessly. Elena stood in the doorway to the kitchen, watching, her hand over her heart. Adrian stood beside her, and for the first time in longer than he could remember, he felt whole. Sometimes what breaks isn't what we lose, he thought, watching the two girls collapse in giggles on the couch. Sometimes it's what we find. If this story reminded you that broken things can lead to beautiful beginnings, subscribe to Love is Kindness for more stories that touch the heart. Now, we want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were Adrian? Would you have forgiven the accident so easily? Comment below, let us know where you're watching from, and rate this story on a scale of 0 to 10. Did Lily's wisdom and Adrian's transformation move you? We'd love to know.